Good morning and welcome to Wilder Safari this morning. My name is Mark and Seb is with me on camera. Great to be back with you all. Actually, she's not too far from us, but we're going to make our way down onto the Western Road on the open area. We're going to try and see them, and hopefully by the time we get to them it's going to be a bit lighter, because the one female, I think it's a female, is actually in a position that I'd like to show you. It's very interesting because... Don't move, woman. So many times, so often we get asked about giraffe lying down or sleeping. We get asked questions about a lot of different animals and their sleeping habits. But I think perhaps the giraffe is the most interesting because they're these tall, long-legged beings, and one would think it's not a very easy thing to lie down for a giraffe, and it's not. It is not. In fact, it can be fatal to a giraffe to lie down. Up ahead we've got some wildebeest who are lying down. Now this is how most animals, most of the herbivores will lie down. They don't really lie down flat on their sides, only really the youngsters that do. This is what we would call a sternal repose, lying on the sternum. Morning, children. I wonder how many babies we got left. All the herbivores actually have to get up in a hurry at times. So for them to lie flat and sleep as we know it would be rather dangerous. They tuck their legs underneath them, lie down, and they're able to stand up very quickly. And that's what I'm hoping to still see the giraffe doing. I'm only seeing two of the young wildebeest here. Oh, there, the rest of the herd's further in. Great having this resident herd with us. But I think we're going to move on because I really would like to try and see these giraffe, or show you these giraffe. Sorry to disturb you, wildies. I need to come and count them just now. A lot of oxpeckers flying off, oxpeckers that are already awake on the wildebeest, flying off en masse, and that can often startle animals. That usually happens when there's a predator or something. In this case it's us. Morning, Impala. We'll come and see you also in a little while. Ground scraper thrush in the road, very difficult to see. Can you see it, Seb? I don't really want to shine a light on a bird. Can't see its front. It's got a beautiful speckled front. Morning, Jimmy Stations.
Good morning, how are you?
Fine, and you?
West.
Is that you with the Conconi?
That's my dad.
Oh, from Lokwe.
From 2 hours, that's
Okay, copy.
anyone there? Morning, how are you?
Got excited for a minute when I saw that big bull giraffe looking down this way in the dark. But I really think he was looking at that other giraffe. They've got pretty amazing eyesight. And on many occasions have found a predator because of the way a giraffe is looking. Well, I guess we wasted out, not wasted, but we spent a bit too long coming back to the giraffe, because I think she's just stood up. There's the bull in front of us, and he's still looking across this big drainage line on our left. He's very dark, and it's a tendency of bulls, or the males, to darken with age. And I assumed that this other giraffe was female based on its being so much lighter. And in fact, I think actually it is another male, because he was lying down and he was in the dark. Good morning, Squire. Unless he's just looking out for females. And the reason why the other one stood up is because he's come across this way now. Excellent manners, giraffe. The younger bull stood up for the old man. I'm just going to move forward. He is looking for something. I can clearly see that. I'll move forward a bit. Now, we've seen this behavior before with giraffe. When we had that female and the young male that spent quite a lot of time here in the open area. And that little boy would wander off and spend time with impala or wildebeest. And then mom would come back from her feeding and she'd walk around looking for him. That's what he's doing, this big bull. He's walking a little ways, stopping and looking. And it could be that he's looking for other giraffe. Saw this one lying down and came along to see. This younger bull just looking on in amazement.
I'll take you to cut line north, long pole west towards Calabar area.
not going to get any sunrise this morning, so we don't need to find ourselves a nice position for it. Maybe we can just stay with these. We'll go up to Zoe's Road since we're on that way, and then go southeast. You can see when he's concentrating the most, the ears go forward, he stops chewing. Like now when I started talking. This is more looking around than usual. The other bull's coming back into view. He had moved off into the thicker bush on our left. He's actually standing in a gap that I can see. Walking one way, stopping and looking, walking another way. So I'd say he's clearly probably looking for other giraffe. This bull that we're looking at is just looking at the big bull, watching what he's doing. I'm wondering if he'll follow him. Got interesting markings, this one, very pale in between his patches. Yeah, of course. I can just try and roll back. Come on, go. I guess I can't. Can I start up? Yeah. Hello, Valerie and Roy. Morning to you. Wanting to know what that bird was, just to repeat that. That was one of the thrushes. The ground scraper thrush. And I have to be honest with you, I don't know how it gets the name. Okay, bye boys. Didn't get a good look at it. Didn't really get a look at it too easily because of the light. We might see them again. There are others that are up on Philemon's cut line, or used to be. And they do have a habit of flying up and landing in the road in front of the car. There's a good chance we'll be able to see more of them. How tall do they grow, the giraffe? Just under, morning Junior, just under 6 meters, just under 20 feet. I think the Rothschild giraffe, Tara was talking about the Rothschild giraffe the other day up in Kenya, Western Kenya, Eastern Uganda. One of the most endangered giraffe species. In fact, they do think it is a different species. They're tending more towards different species now, as opposed to a separate subspecies. There's been a long debate over the differences in all the giraffe throughout Africa as to whether they're different subspecies or they can be classified as their own species. The Rothschild giraffe, of which there is only a handful left, is considered to be one of, or completely separate in its own genus. Fossil records show there were many more different types of giraffe. And up until DNA profiling, I think that's where this was, where a lot of the speculation and a lot of this change is coming into effect. In fact, it's becoming a very interesting subject. But before I digress, because I'm prone to do that, Rothschild gets to be the tallest. They get to be just over 6 meters as far as I know. But this is a subject I'm very interested in. The Genome Project. The genetic profiling of not only us humans, of course, but creatures, and the classification of animals that has taken place over the last several hundred years since Linnaeus and whoever it was decided on what we call binomial nomenclature, which is the two-name concept of every living thing, the genus and the species name. And of course, when they first decided to give everything a universal name, of course there were millions of things to name, so they weren't really looking very closely at a lot of creatures and plants. They were just classifying them as best they could, the time they could. This is Zoe's Road, by the way. And it's only now that we're looking at the genetics, the genes, and we're seeing different relationships with creatures that we thought were all in the same vein. And I was reading an article recently, it was very interesting, about a guy who's writing a book about trout. And as he was researching trout and the waters that they lived in North America, he found that he couldn't even really call his book, I can't remember what the name was, but he couldn't even use the name trout in the book anymore, because there's a trout from one part of the country that's actually closer related to salmon than trout. In fact, there are a couple that are closer related to salmon than trout. Or what's the other fish? I forget. Another freshwater fish that I think it's the rainbow trout that is related to. Yeah, those are semantic. Those are mine. Those are technical details. The gist of what I'm trying to get at is that we're going to be seeing, I think, a lot of changes in the classification of creatures, probably plants too. In fact, we have seen it very much so in plants, things that have changed their names over the years. And this is not just changing the name of, say, a francolin to a spurfowl, or a lapwing from a plover, a common name, just to tie in with an international known common names, which is what's been happening here in South Africa. This is actually the scientific classification of things, and while it doesn't really affect all of us, it doesn't really affect us in terms of how we relate to nature and how we see things, especially those of us doing game drives and coming on safari with us here on Wild Earth Safari, because after all we're still seeing the animals and it doesn't really matter whether it's in this genus or that. But what it does do is it gives us a better picture of the diversity of life on this planet. And today is Earth Day for us. Happy Earth Day. Earth, planet Earth. Happy birthday, as someone said. Happy Earth Day. Try and be as close to Mother Earth as we can today. Oh, here are all my little marula trees. I'm glad they haven't graded or scraped this road while I've been away. Just before I went on leave, I wanted to come and rescue some of these marulas. And I think I'm still going to do that. There's going to be nearly a dozen baby marula trees growing here out of this elephant dung. And it would sometimes take half a year for them to start growing. Deposited in late January, February maybe, when the marulas are ripening and they're being fed on by elephant, and the dung then being broken up and buried by dung beetles, when sometimes, mostly actually, I would expect that those marulas nuts, those seeds, would stay there until next summer. A very, very strong possibility that these are going to die and dry in the dry season because they started a little bit too early. Depends. But I would like to come and save a couple of them. There's no way they're going to grow in the road anyway. Might be too late in that taproot. Baby marula trees. Zoe's Road. Okay, one of the main differences I can see between now and 2 weeks ago is that it is green again. A couple of weeks ago, funny enough, same as last year. Towards the beginning of April, end of March, we were starting to get yellow leaves, we're starting to get a tinge of autumn in them. And that wasn't so much from cold weather as much as it was from just hot, dry days. And then it's wonderful rains that have come and cooler temperatures. And what it has brought, I'm noticing flower-wise, is that the Venonias are out in full force again. Thistle family, I'll find you one of those later when we have a bit better light. Lovely scented plant. I don't see the hibiscuses, all the cotton is still wild cotton, hibiscus. There's not too much wild cotton, there's more back home. But they're all the same family, the Malvasia, the Malva or Mallow family. There are a number of different species here that are still flowering. Back home we have a dwarf variety. I've seen a few here, but not as prolific as it is up in the Timbavati. The miniature hibiscus. Flower is about as big as my little fingernail. And they start off pink before the flower opens, they become white during the day, and as they start closing at night, they go a lovely red. Deep red. Elephant track. Ooh, lovely. Where's he going? Need to try and figure that one out. It's not very fresh. It's from yesterday sometime. And it looks like he went the way we've just come. There is a snail trail on top of his track. It's not as fresh as I would like. There is also kudu track on top of his. Anyways, he went north. Looks like we've all been getting a bit of elephant withdrawal. Because they're not only absent from this part of the Sabi Sand, but they've been absent from up north as well. In fact, in my 2 weeks back home, I didn't have any. I heard one day, there was one day that I heard elephant in the distance, youngsters probably being disciplined by mothers. And then the night before I came back to work, the last night I was at home, I'd been visiting friends at another area. I was on my way home, it was dark, and I decided instead of turning in, I continued along the main road for a while to do a bit of a drive. And up ahead of me there was an elephant in the road, just in the edge of my headlights. I stopped when I got to that point, switched off, and I was surrounded by them, but I didn't see any of them because it was dark. And the best I could do is just sit and listen to them all around me. Ouch. Thorns. Interesting. Rebecca's Road. Oh, interesting question. Morning, Erin. Elephants to moths. I think we'll take a ride down Rebecca's Road. I think Andrew's going to come up Zoe's. Let me just check with him. Andrew, come in.
Stand by.
Are you going to head up Zoe's Road?
Not yet. I'm on the elephant side now. I was there before you. It was like 8 busy and you were on south of quarantine.
Oh, okay. What happened?
I left able on top. And so I don't know what was causing then there are out of quarantine.
Alright, thanks. Oh me, oh my. That's where all the impala were. Was it close to those mala? Uh-huh. Okay. Well. We better get ourselves back to quarantine. And everything was peaceful there this morning. I don't know, maybe those giraffe were looking around because there was some activity. I'm just learning now that there was a leopard and hyena spotted in the southern end of the open area. That is, not too sure if they've still got a visual of it. Let me just check with Abel. Abel, come in. How morning and 4. Still with that Ingwe. Okay, copied. I'll try and get there. I'm on Rebecca's Road. somebody ate a bird.
Morning, if it's just one Induna.
Induna. Okay, we're gonna make our way there now. I just wanted to see what this bird was. It looks like it was a korhan, one of the bustards, and it's been eaten quite recently. And they're genet tracks, but we got to go to a leopard. Otherwise, we can always come back here. Looks like it was killed by a genet, and have a look at tracks and things. Maybe get a feather or two. But Induna is there. We need to go and try and catch up with him. He's heading down towards Twin Dams Road. Abel says very, very thick bush, and he's trying hard to keep up with him. And in the meantime, good morning, Aaron. Aaron wants to know what it is that makes moths come to light. Aaron is 6 years old. Aaron, it's actually quite an interesting thing. Insects, not only moths, but all insects navigate. They find their way by using light, rays of light that come down from stars and from the moon, and those rays of light come down straight down to Earth in a vertical direction. In other words, they come down. And what happens with artificial light, which is your outside lights of your house, artificial light makes rays of light that go across natural light. And what it does is it makes a grid, it makes a big, well, it just confuses the insects. They can't navigate properly. So what they do is they keep turning in smaller and smaller circles until they get to the source of the light. Leopard tracks. Going that way. Could be Induna, could be Mishu. I didn't see any leopard tracks where that korhan was, where the feathers were. There were only genet tracks there. Oh, wonderful. I've got a puncture. It always happens to me when I come back from leave. I haven't even done any off-road yet. I can hear it going. Need to find a spot that's safe, fairly level to stop, which will have to be here, I'm afraid. And I can give you a lesson on how to change a tire. Seb can take the camera off and you can follow me around the vehicle. I don't think we're going to time this one. Do you know which one it was?
What?
Yeah.
Where?
I don't know, didn't you hear it? It was right front again. Left, I mean. Left front. You can hear the ground hornbills. Can you hear me?
I'm gonna go sundown and jump out of the car, Mark. one is that?
I don't know if you've done this yet. Sort of a... Who's this that doesn't... that ties monkey knots? You need to teach some people some knots, I think. This is just too much. But I don't know if we've done this before, being able to show you. We always had the camera on the vehicle. This is what takes a lot of time, is undoing all the stuff that holds the antenna up. But give it a chance to show you. A lot of people might not really know how to change a tire properly, so this is a good time to be able to show you a couple of things that are important when you are changing a tire. Get the spare off first. Oops, sorry, Sid. The most important thing the most important thing is actually to loosen the wheel nuts before it's jacked up. And now I'm just going to lock the gearbox.
Pardon? I really can hear it because the mic right here.
What you can't hear, the ground horn is calling in the distance. Can't be too far from. Uh-oh. A little bit precarious. It should be alright. Always best to leave the top one till last. These are all pre-loosened because once the wheel is off the ground, you don't have any leverage because the wheel will just turn. Take the top ones off first, the wheel can fall down and it can be a little bit more difficult. And these wheels are a little bit bigger than your average sedan and they can be quite heavy. Oops, trying to do it too fast, beat my time. Very important, another thing to do is tighten it as much as you can, and you never go around. You always do opposite, so that you get the wheel sitting against the hub as flush as possible. So keep going opposite. And then back to the beginning just to check, and then down it goes. And then with the wheel on the ground now, you want to do final tightening. So wheel changed, and then just the final bits of putting everything back on the car, that takes the most time. Ow! The same sidewall, the same thing. Dropped it on my sore toe. It's the same thing every time. I burn this tire. Okay, done.
Nice one. take some down, no?
Okay, we can be on our way. Go and find that leopard now. Nothing like a little bit of an early morning workout. Happy Easter, everybody. Chag Sameach. And well over the fast. Helen. Morning, Alan. Alan wants a monkey orange. Okay. Hold that thought, Alan. First we're going to go and look for a leopard. We're going to catch up, see if we can catch up with him. I really feel bad. Sorry, Craig, I didn't hear you. I'm on the radio. Oh, Sharon. Oh, okay. Well, Sharon says 8.5. Who was it? Said it? No, 11.5 minutes. Lynn said 11.5. Okay. Alright, that's good. Abel, come in. Yeah, as I'm at Philemon's Dip, can you put me on the lineup, please? First standby. Alright, well I guess we'll have to take a ride somewhere else. So, in the time we were changing tyres, there seemed to be a few vehicles that have come along. So we can't get to that. Sounds like he's stopped. Not moving through towards Twin Dams Road anymore. Alright, Abe's, I'm going to make a drive around to the treehouse. I'll come back later. In the time we were changing a tire, it seems he stopped walking. But hopefully he'll still be there. I'm kicking myself because we were there with the Impala. Everything was very peaceful, and then evidently just beyond the Impala were a bunch of hyena and this leopard. And we chose to go and look for those giraffes. But that is the way the bush works. That's the wonderful thing about this. And whenever we get to a junction, there's always a dilemma. Do we go left? Do we go right? And what are we going to miss if we go left? What are we going to miss on the right? Rhino was marking territory here. So every time we get to a junction, we're likely to either turn the corner and find something fantastic, or turn the corner and miss something. C'est la vie. Gee, there's still a lot of water around. Sorry, dove. Impala weren't shouting. There was actually very little going on. Only thing there was those two giraffes that were looking around the way they were. And didn't really seem to be like they were looking at a predator. Rhino being busy here. See, maybe it's gone up to Treehouse Dam, this rhino. Hi Jody, welcome this morning. Is this Jody, New Mexico Jody? How did the Gunda get the name and what does Gunda mean? Well, when we had the last vehicle, it was called the Jigger, meaning turn here, turn there, because Jigger means to turn. So we jigger left or we jigger right. That became known as the Jigger. And then we were thinking of a new name for this vehicle. And, well, the Jigger was a petrol engine, so it was a little bit quieter. And then we got this vehicle with a diesel engine, and it made a little bit of a different noise. Rhino was here again. And strangely enough, some of the guides were calling it Gunda Gunda, because the name for a tractor is Gunda Gunda. See, there's somebody driven over these rhino tracks. Because, like now, when you're in first gear and the revs are up a little bit, you can hear that diesel making a bit of a noise. So the guide started calling it Gunda, and then we just decided to keep the name. Because, well, it's not as loud as a tractor, but it is a little bit louder than the Jigger. Monkey orange for Alan. This is a monkey orange to the country. Here's a monkey orange. But we want the fruit, don't we? See if I can find the fruit. That monkey orange has a yellow flower in it, but that's not the monkey orange flower. That is this little flower, which is a little creeper that's growing in a lot of different trees. Sphedamnocarpus pruriens. Don't know what it's called in English. These trees, these are all green monkey orange. There's another one. Spiny monkey orange. I'm not seeing any fruits on the melon. Scientific name, Strychnos madagascariensis. Oh no, this one is Strychnos spinosa, I think. Always get mixed up between the two. But strychnos, referring to the strychnine contained in the seeds. However, the fruit, the pulp itself is edible, even somewhat palatable. It's the seed that you can't bite into. See, this plant is growing, it's tripled in size since I was last here. Finally found the name for it just before I went on leave, thanks to Sharon in Austria. Ludwigia. Ludwigia. Needs some hippo activity, needs some elephant activity. That's what it needs. This dam needs a herd of elephants and a herd of buffalo and a couple of hippo and stir up the water and it's still flowing. I can't believe it. Did you have a lot of rain while I was gone? Pardon?
A couple of rains.
Couple of rains. I mean, I had 30 millimeters in 2 weeks. It's just over an inch. Looks like there was quite a lot of rain here, but this is an area that has double the rainfall compared to the rainfall that comes or falls in the northern part of the Timbavati, the Imbabat area. This is probably double the annual rainfall here. Much drier area. Good morning, Georges in Lebanon, I believe. And good morning to you. How do you deal with a fox or a bear or a tiger if it's chasing you? Well, I can't imagine a fox would be chasing you. I can only imagine a fox would be running away. A bear, I couldn't really tell you either of those animals, Georges, because I don't live with them. I've never encountered them. They don't occur here in Africa. So I have no idea what the best course of action would be. I can tell you one thing, you don't run. Both a bear and a tiger will run you down. Trigger the chase, the hunt instinct. And so I couldn't really say. Especially wouldn't like to say, just in case you go out this afternoon and you encounter a bear, I don't think you're going to find a tiger in your part of the world. I'm not too sure if there are many bears back in that area of the world either, but just in case you go and find yourself a tiger or a bear and something happens to you and you say, oh, but Mark told me I must stand still. I wouldn't want that to happen. If you were here in Africa, it would be a different story. But even then, it's very hard to tell you what to do because it depends on the circumstances. What a hyena track. It depends on so many things. You've got to sum it up for the circumstances at the time. But most of the time I would suggest to stand still, stand your ground. But that's not a very good piece of advice, that, because different animals, even different individuals. We're talking about a lion here in Africa. I mean, one lion will do one thing, another lion will do another, and you'll find that 10 lion will do 10 different things. It's not like animals are automated in that they have a programmed response. Animals think, they have feelings, they have emotions, they have moods. Is it hungry? Is it not hungry? Is it looking at you as food, or is it not looking at you as food? Does it see you as danger, perhaps? Does it see you as a threat? Are there youngsters that it is trying to protect? There's so many different things that influence the way an animal behaves with regards to a human on foot, that it would be irresponsible of me to say, well, you must do one thing or another. The best thing is to just not be out in areas where there are wild animals, potentially dangerous wild animals. Just to not be out on foot in those areas unless you're with a professional guide or somebody who knows those animals in that area. Yeah, us humans have been in, well, the way we live, we're just not part of nature anymore. We've lost the instinct to react. And you think about it, we are far more intelligent than most of our other primate relatives. Rhino was here, so I guess we might have lost him because he came this way and he might have crossed over. And you think about it, monkeys and baboons that occur here. Okay, I agree, point taken, they can climb trees. Well, sometimes it's the best defense for us is to climb a tree as well. Revert to our old roots. Revert, rather, to our old ways. But we are far more intelligent. We have the ability to craft tools, throw sticks and stones. There's just a lot to us humans that make it. Well, actually, a rhino came onto the property here, not left. No, they went on. We need to do Spum Road. Just see there was a giraffe further up Gowrie Main. But I think what I'm trying to say is that although we're no longer part of nature and we've lost our ability to sense danger and react to danger in the right way, we should be able to use our brains. And sometimes the best is to climb a tree, but most of the time the best thing is to just not get yourself into that situation. It's easier said than done. But visitors to Africa should not find themselves faced with a lion or a leopard or an elephant or a buffalo on their own. It shouldn't happen. There's been a big herd of buffalo here. Wow. They've all gone on to Western Gowrie. Giraffe, oh there she is. And the youngster, she's missing half her tail. Little stump. Let's just go around the other side of the sickle bush. We might be able to catch up with this herd of buffalo. Morning, old lady. Such a youngster are you? There is a youngster, probably her calf, further into the bush. Oh, we must have driven past him. There's a big male coming out further east of us. I doubt whether it's the big bull we saw this morning. And he's coming out to look for her, and she's gone in, so they're going to miss each other. Yoo-hoo! Yes, she is. Oh, he's just wandering across the road. That's like, sometimes I wonder how some animals find each other. Animals that don't vocalize as much as others. I think she saw him. She's making her way that way. She's definitely seen him. There's another female that came out of the bushes as well, so she has seen him. Difficult to say how she would lose the tail like that. Could be from lion attack, could be lion hanging off the end of it, maybe injured it badly enough that it became septic. Hyena. See if I can see some scars on her rump. No. Abel, come in. It's Mark here. Give me an update on that Ingwe, please. Alright, thanks. Right, let's make our way back towards Induna. I heard a buffalo wasn't exactly here recently. Must have been about 2 days. Remember buffalo being in? Oh. When 3 days ago. Okay, 3 days ago. It's been overcast. Stuff doesn't dry out as much. Bye bye, madam. You gonna join us with those others? Guess not. Just watching the other giraffe move off. Dave wants to know if giraffe can swim. No. In fact, most giraffes, to my knowledge, avoid water. However, I have seen film and I've seen photographs of giraffe crossing shallow patches of water, like in the Okavango. But no, to my knowledge, giraffe do not swim. They drown pretty easily. I guess it's got something to do with, I don't know, maybe it's got something to do with the long neck, the buoyancy of their lungs and being top heavy, or I don't know. Just guessing, but no. Giraffe, to my knowledge, do not swim. A lot of water here. Rhino was here. Well, Rhino went through there. We're not going through there because that's a death trap for the Gunda. That's where we came out when we got stuck 2 weeks ago. I guess we won't be going there in a hurry. This always happens. It's lovely warm temperatures at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then by 7 o'clock the temperatures dropped considerably. Sorry, Hornbill. Feeding in the dung. Oh, wow, there's a question and a half. Morning, Junior. Again, Junior wants to know how many giraffe are left in the world. Thousands, Junior. I couldn't give you a number. I really couldn't. I haven't the faintest idea. Somewhere in my bookcase. In fact, I know exactly where it is. Because it's sticking out. Because I left it there sticking out. There's a piece of paper with some of the latest figures, well, last year's figures, of some of the animals here in Kruger Park. And now Kruger Park is but one small area in Africa. And for the life of me, I can't remember the number of giraffe that they estimated was still in Kruger. You've got to remember that there are many different parts of Africa. Very big continent, and south of the Sahara there are many different national parks and wildlife areas. Let's put it this way, giraffe are not an endangered species. At the moment. The national animal for Tanzania, the giraffe, known as a twiga, T-W-I-G-A, twiga. Swahili. Okay, let's see. Air from coming. Oh. Somebody doing some wonderful erosion acceleration work. Can't get on the radio. It's non-stop chatter. Be a little frustrating sometimes. Ephraim, come in. I'm not even seeing. I saw tracks, cars turning off here, but just gonna have to guess here, folks. I can't get a word in edgeways on the radio this morning. Really seeing the tracks turning off here, but I'm not seeing anything here. Go, Elvis. I'm trying. I can't get on the radio. Can I follow the drainage line from Philemon's Dip? I'm not copying you, Elvis. Yeah, copied. A little track that we've seen elephant and lion in the past. This little pan. Yeah. Remember lion drinking from it, elephant drinking from it. There's actually some water lilies in there. The interesting line. Aha, I see. Okay, Elvis, I see your mover. Can I pull in? How? Switch the radio off now that we're here. Oh, this gardenia reminds me, last night there was a very strong scent of gardenia. I found one flower, and all the way home after dinner, all I could smell was gardenia. Right, that was a good guess. Following old tire tracks. Let's see if we can find this leopard now. Janet and Mike coming back with figures of giraffe between 7,000 and 7,500. I'm assuming that's just the Kruger Park. Thanks, Janet and Mike. Thanks, Elvis. Are you alright? Good. Okay. Thanks, and for morning all. Okay, so he's in long grass, he's lying down, and we're looking for ears. There. Where's Ingrid? Oh, there. Okay, thanks. It's impossible to see this child. Induna? Hey, little boy. If it's you, I can't even see. I can see one spot. Yeah, this is not. He might move. I wonder why he's holding himself down like that. What I would like to do though is if he's there, all these tire tracks for these vehicles are coming right up to him. Seb, what I want to do is I want to go and just go back a little bit, give him some space. And it looks like he just yawned, saw the top of his head shake. I'm just going to go back a little bit, just in case he's feeling a little bit intimidated, which is why he's in such a thick patch of grass. We'll see if he's not going to maybe come out. No matter what we do, we're not going to see much of him. So that whether we sit here or right on top of him, it's not going to make any difference. But what we can do, if we sit here, instead of sitting right on top of him, let's see. This or these circumstances, or try and get my grammar right here, but this kind of situation is what has taught me patience. I don't have very much patience, I have to admit, and I'm sorry to say, when it comes to a lot of human things. In fact, very little. But when it comes to nature, I think I'm probably one of the most patient people. I can watch termite mounds grow. And if there's ever a way to learn and appreciate patience, it's waiting for a cat, especially a leopard. I can remember ice cold nights in winter on full moons waiting for a cat to return to its kill. As a youngster, it took me a long time to learn that the cat is also waiting for you to disappear. And when you're sitting with an impala in a tree and you're some distance away and you know that the cat's going to come back and eat at some point, what you don't know is that the cat sitting in the grass is watching you, just waiting for you to move away so that it can come back. But those are the type of situations that have taught me to just sit quietly and wait. And sometimes the cat comes back. A lot of times you leave the site, drive away for 2 minutes and come back and the cat is there, because all it was waiting for in the end was waiting for you to leave. But I can't imagine he's comfortable in that thick grass. Could be that he's warm in there, it's nice and cozy. But I'm hoping that maybe if we just wait a few minutes, he might get up, stretch, bit of cleaning, bit of this, bit of that. He might even move on a little bit. I remember sitting right here with two elephant bulls that had been who were sparring. Remember those bulls that were sparring on Philemon's Dip? We followed them in here, and there's this little pond just on our right that I said we must come and do some frogging at. Maybe we must do some frogging before the winter comes in, before the weather changes and the frogs will go to sleep. I had a tree frog in my bathroom this morning, and it isn't pale yet. When the dry season comes, the tree frogs go very, very pale, almost white, and they become they don't hibernate, they estivate. And it's not the opposite of hibernation, it's just a different form of hibernation. It's not as deep a sleep as hibernation. Estivation is a state of reduced, slowed metabolism. He's also in a good position to ambush something. Now there is water everywhere at the moment, I know, but this is still a more permanent pan than the rainwater that's lying around. And there's always a good chance. The kind of animals that might come through here are things like nyala or bushbuck, steenbuck. There we go, he's looking up. Something has caught his attention. Gives us a chance to see him. Morning, young man. This is an interesting thing, I have to tell you. You see, we've been sitting here, obviously a bunch of other vehicles have been here. There's an Impala Ram behind us. This is what I was saying, it's so interesting. It's because the cars make a noise, the diesel, the engine, the tires, crunching of grasses. Yet amongst all of this, he can hear an animal walking 50 yards behind us, and it turns out to be an Impala Ram. This is an interesting time of the year too, because Impala Rams are a little bit preoccupied at the moment. There's a small herd of Impala. It's not only a ram, but there's also a small group and a bunch of youngsters, and they're all flicking their tails, oblivious of the danger. Unfortunately, I have to keep the radio on a little bit just in case somebody wants to come in here. But we've taken quite a bit of time getting to see this leopard because there've been a bunch of other vehicles out that have already come past. I know there's still some that are wanting to come here, and being a bit selfish, but I hope they don't come right now, because right now we're in a really critical point. They're all talking about a couple of cheetah up on the Kruger boundary, which is where a lot of people are going. Okay, and Induna, he's just quietly tucking himself down. Don't think the Impala have seen. Now what we need to do is we need to change position, turn around so we can see Impala and we can see something that might happen. They're actually grazing, moving closer to this little water patch. So let's do that. Let's set ourselves up and let's see if this might turn into something. I'm not wishing the death of a little Impala, but if we witness to something, it'll be fantastic. We've got a couple of hours. I hope you're all patient because this is the test. Grasses are pretty long. This works in his favor. The cover is a little sparse. Morning, Susie. Yeah, affirmative. Yeah, affirmative. Just before you go through that puddle, there are tracks coming off. Is that good? Well, we can see the Impala. We'll keep an eye on the Impala. Because they're at a bit of a disadvantage in that these grasses are a little bit taller than them. If he sneaks off, we're not going to see it. The only thing we'll know is whether he makes a strike or not. His biggest problem is this huge open patch that we've got sitting in front of us here. This is his problem. He's going to have to find his way around this puddle of water. He's going to have to find his way around through cover. Either that or he's a leopard. He's patient. He could wait all day for those impala to move closer to him, to within striking distance, or to a place where he can use cover to get close to them. Now a leopard, being a solitary cat, well, it's solitary mostly because it lives in relatively thick bush and thickets and mountains, and its hunting method is stalk and pounce. Its hunting method is to get close to its prey as possible, because a leopard can't run very far and very fast. Its initial burst of speed is phenomenal. The initial burst of speed is very, very powerful, but a leopard can't really sustain that. And so, there the ram is moving off, and if the ram is moving off, the females might follow, or he's just maybe herding some of the females. And we'll see what happens. We can only see what happens. could be nothing happens. But anyways, as I was saying, if this...
Here you go.
Well, he's looking again. He's watching them. He can see them facing away. He's well aware of ear markings, tail markings and things like that. And they're actually moving off down into the drainage line. And with them facing away from him, there's a good chance that he might sneak up a bit closer now that he's got that opportunity to. You see, a cheetah can strike from this distance. Not the greatest, still a little bit far, but if this was open ground, a cheetah would be able to strike from this distance because the cheetah has that speed, and although it doesn't have the stamina of the dogs or the hyena, the cheetah can still maintain that speed for a considerable distance. A leopard can only maintain its speed and its stamina for 20 to 50 yards at best. He's here. Impala's there. Come this way. He's moving around. Did you see him?
No?
He's got his eye on his impala.
No?
Yeah.
He's sneaking up, he's going
I
around.
know, he's sneaking, he's coming around. He's going to come around the back of us. You okay? Pardon? Okay, just through here. Pardon? Why? Oh yeah, no, just they just stay out of the water. And he is sneaking around behind us, so he's going into sort of a stalk mode. There's the impala. They're starting to come out now towards us. Induna. Looks like he's stalking us. But he's using cover very wisely. He's got a clump of bushes to our left, and then he's going to move into a spot where there's a very thick patch of bush between him and the impala, which are going to get him quite close. Now making his way to the puddle. He's now, I would say, out of view from these impala. Gives him a... Yeah. We got him, Seb. Not the best. But we can move forward as soon as he gets to the puddle. He's stalking. He's in full stalk mode. He's crouching low to the ground. I'm going to try and move forward, Seb.
Yes, please.
Shoot, can I just... Okay. I'm hoping we wouldn't have to move. I'm hoping he's going to bring them out this way. We're going to probably lose him behind all those bushes. But I don't want to. I'd rather keep my eyes on the impala. He's getting a bit too confident, thinking he's hidden. I'm behind some quarry. The cover I thought he would use. Let's go closer to these impala forward. If we go to him, we'll show the impala where he is. Okay. Turn around and let's. Okay, this is the best we can do. If we were to follow him, we would probably blow his cover. But sitting here, watching the impala is probably our best bet. We might not see the hunt, we might only hear things, we might see them scatter. But this is our best bet. Around this side. Okay. He's got a ways to go. He's behind bushes off to our left. He's got a bit of a way to go. He's got a little bit of an open patch to cover before he gets, or rather to cross before he gets back to cover. And my guess is if he strikes from that end, the impala will run off to our right. He's got an advantage here. This is an interesting test for him, because if he does this right, he could be successful. Long grasses, low bushes. Morning, Lex. Lex, at the moment he's out of sight. He's stalking some impala. Yeah, Mark, yeah, go ahead. I don't really want to move the impala off. And this is I know we're not seeing much from here, but the only way to observe something and not interfere. If we go forward, I'm worried that's going to move the impala away. At the moment, we're not interfering at all, and it's allowing the impala to carry on grazing, carry on doing what they're doing. I can hear some bulbuls, yellow vented bulbuls, complaining, possibly where he is. One of the impala looking that way. She's gone back to eating. At this stage, I have no idea where he is, and neither do the impala. I can only guess that he's still still busy stalking on the other side of some thick cover that we're at. As much as this cover, much as these tall grasses are an advantage to him to stalk closer to these impala, they're still a hindrance. They're going to slow him down striking. He's got to launch himself over these grasses, not through them. Which means he's got to get a lot closer than one would imagine. And literally within 10 to 15 feet. He's also got to single out an individual. In the time that he's stalking, he's monitoring each impala. He's probably not going to go for one of the ones that are bunched together in the middle. He's probably going to look for one on the outskirts. One that's maybe facing away or maybe inattentive. And the longer he can take to get closer without being seen, the greater his chances of success. We're lucky there aren't any go-away birds, francolins yet. So far no alarm calls from any of the birds or even a squirrel, which is good. Hello babblers. Welcome to Wild Earth Safari in a very tense moment. A little bit of a standoff that we have here this morning. Just ahead of us, a small group of impala grazing peacefully. Very tall grasses, very thick cover. But somewhere off to our left is a young male leopard. We are hoping, well, we're wondering if he's going to strike soon. He was stalking, he was getting very interested in this small group. They haven't seen him yet. And the longer it takes, oh, there's the ram. You see, now this is what we need. The impala ram. In typical rutting mode, getting impatient with these females. He wants to move them on. And he has just split the group up a little bit, which is going to work to the advantage of the leopard. Of course, what it can also do is they've all moved. They might actually see him now. But it's a distraction. It's what it is now. The half of the group has moved up with this ram. There's still a female on her own. Anything can happen. Time of the year when the impala rams are so busy herding females into their harems, chasing off other rams, young males, trying to keep a group of females together, that their attentions are, or they're so distracted that then they miss the predators. And this is actually a time of the year when impala rams are the ones that are most likely to be killed. But at the moment, these females are running around a bit. They split up, and to rejoin the group, Now they're moving to rejoin. We could even have this ram chase them and move them right into the path of the leopard. They're starting to walk in the direction of Induna. We're going to have to move forward. Okay, let's move forward. A little bit. Now faced with this little open patch of ground, here off it goes. Can you see him? I see he's got this open patch of ground he's got to cover, but the impala are hidden now. Where do you see him? Hmm? Yes. Okay, he's actually lying in an open patch of grass. The impala have moved behind some bush, might give him an advantage. But he is still watching. As I said before, this could take all day. As long as we can spend some time waiting for things to maybe happen, we will. We've got a clear shot of him. Wind from the south, he's just northeast of them. Wind plays a fairly important role. But this, despite the breeze, doesn't matter whether he's downwind from them and he's using the wind. Sound is the most important asset here, or hearing, in that while these impala are grazing and their heads are in the grasses and they're moving about, it's relatively thick, they can't see stuff, so they're relying mostly on the sounds around them, not necessarily the sound of the leopard, which hopefully will be quiet and silent, but they're hoping to hear maybe an alarm call from something that will alert them to danger. As long as the birds around us are all carrying on as normal and the normal sounds, we can hear babblers off to one side, there's a black-headed oriole off to another side, These birds are all giving off their normal territorial and communicative calls. None of them, as yet, giving off an alarm call. There were earlier some black-eyed bulbuls, or something now called yellow-vented bulbuls, that were alarming slightly, but not enough to cause alarm to the impala. Is he moving yet?
No, it's still still.
Still. They're moving away a little bit. Yeah, I can hear a squirrel calling now. The squirrel calling has made these impala all look up, but it's not in the right direction. Orange-tipped white, Calotus butterfly. Calotus, let me think, its name is Calotus Iannoni. If I'm not mistaken. Small raptor flying overhead, that might elicit some alarm calls. No, it didn't. I could go sneaking off in the bush and come around those impala and chase them till smack my hand for even thinking that. I think viewers might.
I've got the butterflies on. That's why, you know.
Oh, there's my Calotus. Orange-tipped white. Still in the wet season. Where am I binoculars, please? Wet season morph. It's a female. So there's dark marks on the inner wing. As far as I know, I think we need to have that butterfly book on the car. Impala ram's getting impatient with his ewes. Chasing them a bit. Wake him up.
Yeah, okay.
As soon as the Impala ram races them around a bit, Induna lifts his head. Anyways, getting back to my butterfly. Not my butterfly, the butterfly. Birthday. Earth. Isn't Earth Day butterfly. Some things don't have to have complicated names. And the orange-tipped white is probably one of the easiest names to remember. You get a purple tip, you get a scarlet tip, red tip, queen purple tip. Those are all the whites. And they're called just by the name of the tip, of the colour of the tip. Come on, Induna. There we go. Lift that head. I've actually finally found a little gap where I can see him. Could be that his disadvantage is if he moves from that patch of grass, they're going to see him. And that's why he hasn't moved yet, because he's lying in the open. If he has to get up, he'll blow his cover. But I think they've moved too far away now. I'll find you one later. Okay. I'll see you later.
Step down now.
There you go. He's moving. Finally. He's making his way around that bush. Don't look at me, Induna. Watch the impala. Impala, haven't seen anything. He's probably got a good thick patch of grass in front of him. That's pretty great cover. See, another thing that can be a giveaway is with these long grasses, there's very little wind at the moment. The grass is moving. There's a bit of a telltale to the impala. So he's probably done a third of the distance closer to them now. Almost getting up onto halfway. There's some fairly thick cover between him and them. He's just got to be able to get through that thick cover quietly without moving too many branches, too much grass movement. I'm just trying to think, Tina, I've got to find my way there too. I can see him. I can just see his spots through a gap. And I'm thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the car through there. I've got to, if he strikes, we've got to move quickly. And finding a way. I've got a baby knobthorn in front of me. I'd have to try and find my way around. And there's a baby leadwood I don't want to damage. Try and go over them so that the wheels don't touch them. He's now well over halfway towards them. The last little glimpse of spots that I had were almost directly in front of us. There can't be more than 10 yards, 10 meters between him and these impala now. In fact, it's probably less. And he's moving within striking distance. The impala started feeding again. They're lifting their heads, they're looking about. There's a little bit of tension in the air. Can you see any of the impala? I'm thinking, but I'm just worried about this little knobthorn and that little leadwood. Otherwise we'd have to go... if this was jigger, I'd be able to go through, yeah. Might be able to squeeze through. Otherwise we... try and find a way around that way. No, he's in that thick stuff. He's within striking distance right now. No, we won't see anything. But we can't move. I just saw some movement. I thought it was... Not too sure what it was. This is getting close. So close. And the butterfly is warming its wings. With very, very little sunlight. None at all. Probably still getting UV warmth. Impala moving a little. My heart's starting to beat a little bit faster because I guess I'm anticipating something, but also I've been in this situation before, after waiting and waiting and waiting and knowing that in the blink of an eye something can happen. Especially with this Impala ram doing what he's doing. See, they're running around a little bit now. It's difficult because the group is so small. If there was a much larger group of Impala, of course they would be more spread out and it would be a lot more, it will be just a lot noisier with all the different individuals. Only thing is you're not likely to get a larger group in such thick cover. For that very reason, because it would have to be more spread out and it would give predators a greater opportunity to take one down. It was one of the reasons why we don't have large groups of wildebeest and zebra here. Those plains animals that one generally associates with large herds. It's just not conducive to safe living, to live in a large group, especially when you have to move through this kind of terrain from one open area of grazing to another, or where you come out of the open area after spending the night in safety on the open and you go to spend the day browsing or grazing in this kind of habitat. Too large a group makes too much noise, makes detecting a predator much more difficult. So it seems to be that it's where safety in numbers does count. Sometimes safety in smaller numbers can also be an advantage, and I think this is possibly one of the advantages of this very small group of impala. They're in a very small open area, a very small patch of open, but there's so few of them that they can hear each other moving around and they will hear anything untoward, as well as the fact that they can see each other, so they can associate the sound with what they are seeing. When there are too many individuals and view is blocked between part of the group and another part of the group. That's when you hear things and you don't know what you're hearing, whether it could be the other members of the herd or something else. Having said that, though, it is easier for animals to identify the sound of footfalls, footsteps, hoof falls. Reminds me of a teacher I had once at school. Never forget this. If we used to leave the classroom, just like any class, we would make a noise and turn into delinquents. And then he would come back and the class would be quiet and he would know we were making a noise and we were rowdy, and he would say, "How did you know I was coming? Did you hear my footprints?" And he could never understand why we giggled. I don't think anybody told him that you can't hear footprints. Bye, girls. Thanks for sharing. See you later. Okay, now we're alone with him and them and it being a slight state of tension. I know it's almost wishing that, not wishing, no, and it's not hoping, and certainly not expecting, but an impala could die in the next few minutes, and we're here to witness it. Eat and be eaten. After all, that is what life is. That's what the planet does. The planet grows things to be eaten by other things. If there is ever a purpose to life, it is just to provide food for someone else. Us humans are a little different. Kind of broken the mold. They're just going around in circles in that little open area that they're in. They're now back to where they were earlier, when they were their furthest point away from him, which means that they're another few yards away. Now, a lot of you new viewers have only been with us while we've been on the 3D rig. At the moment we're using the old, not old, at the moment we're using an HD camera, which requires its own batteries. It's not like it's running off of the vehicle batteries like the other rigs do. This is on its own battery, just like your camcorder at home. And at that critical moment we needed to change the battery on the camera. Although we can do that fairly quickly, it takes a moment or two for things to kick in. There was Cessna flying overhead, also known as a Caravan 210. Single engine turboprop, about a 12-seater, I think, 12-14-seater. Depends on how the seats are configured. Plane that I've probably spent more time in than most cars. There's Marla here that he's been watching. Alright. And he's in the grass over there. But he's down, so we can't see him. Oh no, actually, sorry, I thought he's moved up a little bit, but he's not far from them. That's what we wanted. It's got that Impala ram running around snorting now, and that's not an alarm call. That is a rutting snort. That is the sound of an Impala ram chasing off another ram. And while he's away, these females might move a bit. But with that ram now moved off around this side of me. Okay, with only a couple of minutes left of drive, we're just going to leave it for a minute or two to see what happens. We'll stay here, extend it a little bit. We can't leave right now. Yeah, I told Andrew he was in the grass there, but he's not. He's coming here. So we're going to just see what happens. And they've moved off a little bit onto the other side of a little clearing. And I don't know where he is. He could still be in the stick bush in front of us, or he could have moved elsewhere. Interesting thing is that Impala ram has moved off, obviously chasing off another ram. That was the noise that we heard. We're just going to have to see. You know, he was sitting there for so long, but I forgot that he's actually moved up here. The last I saw him was going into this thick lateen over here. And he's close. Morning. I know if you go forward you might get a visual of him, but I didn't really want to get too close. I think that ram is coming back now. Might also have set him back with that Impala ram running off like that. Might have set the clock back a bit for him, because you see, it's quite possible that all he's going to do is just going to bide his time, sit down for half an hour, let things return to normal. I think they can see him. Andrew. Looks like it. Guess they're taking photos. Looks like they're trying to crouch down because he's probably quite low.
You think he's got a visual there?
I think so. I can't imagine they're photographing an Impala. Well, so eagerly. Andrew, got a visual. Well, I suppose we could move there just to catch the last. The only thing is, I don't think we'd see from there if he strikes as much as we would from here. Normally the guests all try and stand up when they get to a sighting, and this time they're all trying to crouch down under the seats to try and get as low as possible, because the view that they must have must be very low. I wish I could film them.
Okay.
Yeah. The aircraft seats. Okay, let's just move and see what he's doing. We'll go up to see if we can get a view of him. All are all in a bit of a defensive posture. They're all facing, each one's facing a different way. Maybe we stop here. There was a little bit of an alarm call for some reason. Oh, they've seen him somehow. They've picked up his scent. They don't know where he is, but they're alarming. Yeah, he's given up. Ears down. He's walking away. There's nothing he can do now. He's got the impala looking right at him, and off they go. Okay, time for us to leave. No why that happened. Why didn't we do that in the first place? There's nothing he can do. They're going to watch him, and as long as they can see him, he can't make a kill. Oh, here's Rick wants to know if I ever witnessed a kill. Many, Rick, many. Been very lucky. Look at that beautiful flower. Only you know what? Not much point. Let me do this quickly. I call it an obnoxious weed. Some people might call it a noxious weed. I call it an obnoxious weed. As pretty as it is. But there's a flower for the ladies for Easter. And a lot of you know that I don't pick flowers in the wild. Oh, yeah, sorry. And I don't pick flowers because but I do pick flowers when they don't belong. And this particular plant, this comes from South America, and it is a very bad plant to have in an indigenous area. It can take over. In fact, there's quite a large stand of it here. This is the only one that's flowering. Known as Lantana camara, or it might be a different subspecies, because the camara is normally pink and yellow. He's probably going to go lie there and then come back later. Yes. Anyways, so yes, folks, the only time I'd really pick flowers for the ladies like that is when it's an alien invader species, which it is. Normally I just show ladies the flowers. Actually, I shouldn't be sexist. Maybe there's some guys out there that are interested in flowers too. So, before we make our way out, what I'm going to do, I want to also just conserve battery power here on the Land Rover. Lantana camara. I tell you something, I've spent days chopping that stuff out of the riverbanks of the Sabi River. It's got fine little thorns on it, so you can't pull it. And these berries are toxic, they're poisonous. They get dark purple, black. And animals that browse it can get sick. So while I would love to go on a lantana hunting mission to eradicate it right now, unfortunately I can't. I have other duties. And one of those is to say goodbye to you. Thank you for joining me this morning. I want to thank you for your patience. It was perhaps rewarded somewhat in the end, in that he finally moved off and it all came to naught. But that is the life of a leopard, not always hunting successfully. My name is Mark. Seb's been with me on camera with Craig in final control. Please join us again later this afternoon for our PM safari, and we'll see what we can find for you then. Bye for now.